The French Netflix action comedy Wingwomen may not be totally what you expect. There are heists, gunfights, all sorts of action in this story that's based on a comic book and novel. But it's also got a touching emotional arc that I didn't see coming. Should this one be on your watch list? Tired of life on the run, two expert thieves and best friends recruit feisty Sam to assist them on one last job, unlike any they've done before. So Mélanie Laurent directs this and then stars as one of the three women who take part in a robbery in order to free themselves from a vindictive and controlling boss. It also stars Adèle Exarchopoulos, Manon Bresch, and Isabelle Adjani. Now, it starts off as an action thriller and then transitions into a story of friendship and sisterhood that happens to have a bit of crime thrown in. The least interesting thing about this movie is the heist. While it's present in the storyline and it's the impetus for the travel that the trio undertakes, it really is an afterthought within the plot. The relationship between two characters, Carol and Alex, is shown first, showcasing how much they care for each other, taking on sisterly roles where they joke a ton, but also heavily lean on each other for emotional support. Now, when Sam is brought into the crew, there's certainly some strain, but we get to watch the growth happen between the trio, bringing Sam into the fold so that she's really just a third sister. Now, there are a lot of quick edits, especially at the start of the film, and while it's meant to create a sense of motion and excitement, the amount of cuts, they are highly unnecessary, making me long just for a scene that would sit on a character or an angle for more than 2 seconds. And not only is it distracting, but the edits make it seem like they couldn't grab more than a millisecond of a shot that was usable. Later on in the film, we do get more calm takes where the camera is allowed to sit on a subject, losing the freneticness of that shot, but it still also is able to maintain the energy and the urgency of a scene. For the dynamics between the characters, I appreciate the chemistry between Carol and Alex. As I said before, they function like sisters, and there's a fun and lighthearted antagonism that's between the two, where they tease and poke fun, but they also love and concern, which is always at the center. Now, while the interactions are funny or sweet, it also creates a confidence so that when crap goes down and the poop hits the fan, they'll be there for each other, regardless of the stakes and the danger. They also believe in each other, lifting each other up, which I know it sounds a little bit like it's contradictory to the antagonism, but because they love each other so much, it comes across as a natural element within the relationship. Now, for as enjoyable as the relationship aspects are within this, the story, it's mostly a mess, just not totally knowing what type of film it wants to be. Now, as I said before, there's a heist element to this where Carol can't get out from under her godmother, who's played by Isabelle Adjani. Now, the relationship, it's never defined sufficiently, other than I believe she's comparable to a mafia boss. Once you're in, you're in. Now, I'm not sure Adjani was the right choice for the role because her delivery felt a bit more comedic or at least non-serious than threatening. Now, the only time she feels like she has power is when her henchmen are around her, bringing muscles and guns. Otherwise, she's just a middle-aged Karen using her best "let me speak to your manager" voice as she tries to instill fear. Now, the big heist that comes in the latter half of the movie, which is also meant to be the crux of the narrative, it isn't defined by a clear motivation or point. The film spends an extra amount through a long montage watching the character of Sam train for the heist, learning to fire a gun, doing all sorts of exercises and then strength training, only for her to be relegated to the car while a no-stakes theft takes place. I mean, there's zero tension related to the robbery. And considering that this is supposed to be that make it or break it gig that allows Carol to maybe break free of the godmother, you'd think that if they had a job that they absolutely could not fail at, every precaution would be taken to ensure a flawless caper. And then, as a viewer, I'd anticipate that this would be a dangerous or at least suspenseful undertaking, something that invests me in the outcome. Ideally, avoiding peril, but also keeping that as a possibility just to add anxiety. We don't get that though. All the setup and lead up to the crime, it's meaningless in terms of a crime thriller. That's really a shame because there is a setup for some really great action and suspense. Now, Alex is a warrior, and thankfully we do get to see her do a tiny bit of combat, but it's filled with quick cuts, and then the entire fight is actually cut short before it ends, resolving the aftermath of the battle rather than allowing us to see it all the way through to the end. So really, the best way to watch this is through the singular mindset of a relationship story that watches a team look out for and support each other. Then the film works, and the arcs are supported by actions and motivations. So if you want to enjoy this, don't approach it as an action or crime film, but instead look at it as the sisterhood of the traveling guns with a little violence thrown in for some excitement. So overall, Wingwomen thrives when it focuses on the dynamics and chemistry between the three leads, exploring caring relationships that are sometimes rocky but still positive and beneficial. The action sequences can be exciting, but are typically over edited and concluded prematurely, reducing tension and leaving a scene wanting. And despite the identity crisis the narrative seems to have, when viewed through a sisterly relationship, the movie can work. It doesn't remedy all the shortcomings of the story progression, but it can leave you with a smile. There's not really any sex, there is some nudity, a lot of profanity, and a bunch of violence. I give Wingwomen 2.5 out of 5 couches. So what films are you looking forward to seeing in the coming weeks? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.